We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Breaking Bread Village. I am going to try to calm myself down right now. I'm very excited to have this conversation with these wonderful ladies that I have on today. We are going to be talking about mental health and why it's so important and why it's okay to talk about it. We need to start talking about it in our communities, in our families, and it's okay to get professional help if you need that, if you are seeing signs. So we're going to talk about all of this. So let me not start rambling. I am going to bring on my guests and allow them to introduce themselves one at a time. So first I will bring on Miss Brianne. Hey, Brianne.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. I'm going to bring on Miss Erica. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Erin?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you. And then I'm going to bring on Miss Bianca. How are you?
Great. How y'all doing?
Great.
You are awesome. I just want to thank you guys for being here today. It's just, I'm just feel so honored and so blessed to have you guys here because this is a conversation that's very, very, very important to me. And I have seen so many people, go through life in a tough way that I felt like they didn't have to. I years ago when I worked at the juvenile care center, I lost a student to suicide. And I really believe that if he had the proper help and people saw different signs, he could have, possibly made it through. So who knows? But that's just I hold on to that if we start having these conversations and helping people to feel okay to say that they're not okay, right? And to get that type of help. So again, thank you guys so much for being here and taking your time to be here to have this conversation today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's just get started because again, like I said, it's okay to say that you're not okay. And that's something that I just want to keep driving home this evening as we have this conversation, but we're going to talk about mental health tonight. And a lot of times people, when you hear mental health, they go straight to, that somebody is something's wrong with them. They're crazy. And that's not what it is to me all the time. Mental health. So when I talk about a person that needs to maybe get that help, I think about the whole person, like the whole being, balancing that whole person, that self, that spirit. So I think about the mental, I think about physical, emotional, seasonal, environmental, and spiritual. So do you guys agree that it's okay to say that we need to balance that whole person and not just, they just have a mental illness or they have, they just need to get some help mentally. Do you guys agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. Yes.
Okay. So what do you guys think about the whole balance? Erica, you can go ahead and answer that.
Oh, sure. Well, I think that in terms of balancing emotional health and physical health, I think that the two are equally important. Coming from a perspective of being a person who incorporates like the holistic perspective, looking at adopting science as well as the spirituality of our person, even if people practice it in different ways, we are mind, body, and spirit. And how we are feeling affects of our mental. If we're not doing well emotionally, we have symptoms that show up physically, and vice versa. What's happening to us physically can impact how we are in our and subsequently how we emotional life and how we behave. So how we think, feel, and what we do are impacted. So I definitely agree that treatment needs to be focused on every aspect of the person.
Okay, Bianca.
Absolutely. I agree 100% because you can't have one without the other. the mind isn't absent from the body, and the arm isn't absent from the leg. So you can't treat mental health without treating the whole body. And if you go on, you look at how our brain affects everything we do in our body, it's between the brain and the heart. It's our epicenter. It's our core. So when I'm in practice, I will often talk to my clients not about just what's going on. You're coming in for anxiety, depression, trauma, psychosis. We'll talk about that too. But how are you sleeping? What does your diet look like? Are you getting exercise? Are you doing proper self-care? We talk about those things. And if you ask any of my clients, they'll be like, she said self-care one more time.
It's so important.
It is. And it's one thing that we don't do because we say we're going to do it, but we don't value ourselves. And when we don't do self-care, then the body breaks down, then the mind breaks down, and then we exacerbate what's already going on. That we could have prevented if we just take 30 minutes a day to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. And and that can be very small too. I know for me, my self-care, things that I do is sitting in my car before I get out of it to go into the house. And if a song comes on that I like, I'm going to turn it up, rock out to it. And then that's a part of self-care for me because I've just kind of like, my chi is just, it's like, okay, I'm ready for whatever's coming, and not that it's anything wrong. It's just like, I need to sometimes decompress or just kind of, lay low for a second. And then I go on about my day for the second part of my day. So that's very, very, very important. Brianne, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the question, I was going to talk about self-care. That's something that I always try to hit home with all of my clients. Most of them are younger. So I asked them, what did you do for self-care this week? It could be anything. It could be something that's little, like you said. It could be taking a nap. That can help your mind, body, and soul. Some of my clients are artsy, so they like to paint and, just something that can get them away from, the real world just for a few minutes, and then you can go about the rest of your day.
Sure. Take that moment. Like you said, Bianca, take that moment because sometimes we take those moments that we don't take for granted. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be able to take those moments and say, you know what, right now, the dishes can wait. It's okay. All right. Yes. That can wait. And it's okay to do that. So thank you guys so much for that. So why do you guys feel that people are afraid to admit that they are not okay? I had to learn to be able to tell people, listen, I'm not okay right now. So why do you guys feel that people are afraid to admit that?
I think that, I'm sorry. Was someone else going to speak first?
No, please. Yeah. No, please.
I think that there's a myriad of reasons that people may not admit. I think that on a cultural basis that there are many messages that are given in regards to emotional health. And sometimes on a cultural level, irrespective to the culture, be it Asian American, African American, Native American, Caucasian, sometimes people think that saying that, hey, I'm not okay, that means that something is wrong or that you are crazy.
Yes.
So even though our society has come a lot further in the conversation and acknowledgement of the importance of addressing emotional health on the same level as we do physical health, there's still a lot of stigma. And I think that there are mixed messages. There are sometimes erroneous messages of what strength is. Okay, and what constitutes strength. I think that there are errors in regards to sometimes how the community or culture communicates about what strength looks like for a man or a young man.
Yeah.
In the same way that it miscommunicates what strength should look like in a woman.
Okay,
or a young lady. So sometimes the misconception that strength is appearing to have this outside together is more important than focusing on, are you okay inside? Is your inner man, that inner child, we refer to it as your inner person, is that being at peace? Because if your inner person is okay, then your outer world is going to reflect. It is going to reflect in your person. It's going to reflect in your environment. And I think that sometimes people are afraid of being judged.
Oh yeah.
As not being healthy. As not being healthy for addressing things that in fact could cause them to be their healthiest or their best person. Some people are afraid. They're afraid to talk about it. Sometimes people are afraid to look at it too, to look inside themselves because
that's the truth.
Yeah, some of the hardest work that I've experienced and that I know that people have experienced, and then I'll pause because I don't want to, this is one of my passion areas, as I know that it's the same for you guys too. Sometimes the hardest work and the most beneficial work is being willing to look at the difficult parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And being totally honest with ourselves and saying, hey, here are my strengths, here are my challenges. Here are the things that I've yet to do in order to arrive at where I want to be. And some people don't realize that the beauty is in all of you, not in any look of perfection or of having it all together. The beauty is in the imperfection of the person and what we can, how we can inform other people of arrive at different places of increase. If we work. But sometimes people are afraid of what it's going to look like or what it's going to feel like.
Well, yeah, and that's
feel like to themselves.
Yeah, no, that's very true, and I want you other ladies to comment on this too. But I want to say something. You know, that was one thing that was my fear. Used to be my fear in regards to saying that I'm not okay, because some people, when they are so used to you being this certain way, when you say, they say, oh, well, what's wrong? And they start looking at you with pity and like you're about to die. And it's like, wait a minute, I just said I'm not okay right now. I just need a moment, you know. But so it was this fear of being judged and being pitied, when it's like, no, I'm just not okay right now. I mean, I don't know why. Sometimes it's just right now. I don't want to do that, or I don't want to be this, you know, that person. So I get what you're saying. And also in regards to what you said, Erica, you know, it reminds me when you talked about men and sometimes being afraid to show that other part. You know, I know when men started doing more yoga, you know, they would get teased and things of that nature, where really that was helping heal that inner. But because of the stigmas placed on it, they were, you know, afraid to either do it or admit they did it. So that's really true what you said. Bianca, you look like you had something to say.
Yeah, no, this is one of my, I'm like, Erica, listen, this hit home. This is hard. When we are, I feel like we, and I say it as, especially as African Americans, but a lot of people don't have the ability to say that I'm not okay, because we don't have the emotional literacy to say I'm not okay. Having emotional intelligence, but before we can even get there, we have to have emotional literacy. We have to be able to have the words and understand that those words have power, and it's okay to use those words. I always talk to our clients about the big five, you know, happy, sad, mad, angry, hurt, or excited. We use those all the time. When the definition of happy is really means being content. But we use happy as being really elated or ecstatic, and it's a different word, it's a different meaning. But when we don't have the vocabulary to be able to say what we're feeling, we don't say that. We say that we're not okay. To say that, follow up with that, it says, okay, I'm not feeling okay. What's wrong? And when we say that, what is wrong? How do we know things that are going on? We feel as though that the person has to have that answer. They have to have the answer to say what is not okay, but they don't have the words or the vocabulary to be able to say what's not okay. So now it creates anxiety, because I'm not feeling okay, but I got to be able to solve my own problems to be able to explain to you what's going on so I can be okay. So now we're creating another level of anxiety that's not necessarily needed. And so it's easy to say I'm okay, because it keeps distance, and I don't have to ask or answer. I don't have to feel the need to solve my own problems, because I don't really know what's going on. And the stigma of if I'm not okay, then I'm crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Brianne.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on what both of you had said about, like, even with stigma and maybe having past experiences of saying you're not okay, and it was probably, you know, not taken serious, or kind of just like, you're fine, it's all in your head. And now you grow up as an adult, and each other's like, okay, I'm fine. I'm not okay, but I'm gonna say I'm okay, just so that people don't look at me as crazy or think something's wrong. Or even with the pity, saying you're not okay doesn't mean you need to be pitied. It's you might need a listening ear or
or just that moment, and Brianne, what you just talked about is really interesting to me, because I always tell people, especially for children, right? A lot of times, I don't know about other people's communities, but my community, as a child, if you said you were hurt, you were sad, you were upset, the response was always, what you got to be upset about? You a kid, so it's always this dismissive nature that comes back when you learn when you're trying to express yourself, right, as a child. Mm-hmm. So you learn that as you grow, right, that people are going to dismiss what you have to say, so you just stop saying it. And that goes back to kind of what you talked about, Brianne. It's the truth. What are you saying? No, it's real.
You gave a word right there, because kids are the most honest creatures that we have. Yes. We say kids ain't got no filter, but honey, sometimes we don't need a filter. But we teach this stigma, we teach this negative narrative of you have to be polite. When someone asks you how you are, you say you're fine. So not because you don't want to burden them with your problems. Some of the most toxic things that we can tell our kids. So we're telling them, like Brianne said, we're teaching them that what you're feeling is not okay. So that if it comes up again, even though it's natural, even though it's a part of everything that everybody feels at some point in time in their life, we're telling them, hey, this is not natural and this is not okay. So if this is not okay, we put a character assassination on and say that you're not okay.
Yes.
And that's the toxic narrative that we teaching the babies.
We're teaching them. Yes. And it's really disheartening because, as you said, if we don't allow them to find those right words, and even in starting at such a young age, saying, I'm really upset right now, or I'm angry right now, whatever, how elementary it may be, they're being very honest. And instead of us saying, well, what's wrong? What happened? Tell me more. Thank you for sharing that with me, right? Thank you for letting me know that, because I know sometimes as parents, we don't want our kids to do that to us, but we have to open up those doorways for them to be able to express, and for us to say, thank you for telling me that, because, when they really need to tell us stuff, they won't. And that's when we get into a whole nother side of sometimes sexual abuse, domestic violence, things of that nature, because we've been shamed and being honest. So, now this right here, I can talk about forever. Yeah, I can talk about this forever, because I'm really passionate about people being able to say what they feel. Because when they learn it at what we call, consider like a lower level, then they'll be able to say it at a different level, because they'll feel safe, right? They'll feel safe to be able to say that. So,
absolutely.
Whew, okay. That's a lot for me, because I want people to be able to talk and share. Because I tell you, there's so many people suffering in silence because they don't think that people will help validate what they feel. And it's like, talk, tell me.
And you think they're the only ones, because if we are teaching the narrative that this feeling is not normal, then I must be abnormal, which makes me feel isolated. So no one's going to understand because I'm weird. And the reality is 99.999999999% is feeling the same thing.
Yeah, at some point. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, if I can, you guys, in terms of raising the point of norm, what is normal? I think that, part of the conversation, when I think I definitely agree with everyone's perspective on providing the language. I think also part of providing the language is like providing the context, the scientific aspect of things, to help people to understand that really there's a reason that we can show, hey, there is nothing wrong with you, that you are not crazy. In addition to giving them the words, like talking about like the science behind depression, why it happens. I will take it further. I'll wait on you.
Because we are getting to that, yes. But you
don't want to jump there.
I appreciate this organic conversation, because it's real. This is a real conversation that needs to take place, and we're all passionate about it in one way or the other, because it's necessary, and to me it saves lives. It saves, life is such a beautiful thing, but sometimes we're robbed of it. because we don't know how to navigate through it. And I think these kind of conversations help you be able to navigate through it so you can truly enjoy it the way it was set up to be. So, yes. So I want to talk about surrounding the stigma placed on men to always be strong. Do you feel they struggle to get help? Last week, as I shared with you guys off screen, there were a couple gentlemen on here, and they openly talked about how, they dealt with it in their athletic, their professional athletic career. So, it's a lot of men that I think, go through that. And I will be the first to admit, when I was a young parent, I had 4 boys. Well, I still have 4 boys. They were little boys, but now they're men. But, I came from a background where it was like, you have to be tough, you have to be strong, because, and especially as Black men in America, it's like, you can't go around being weak. You have to be able. So, when they were really young, I was one of those people. I will openly, I tell that when I teach classes, that I was one of those people that said, you need to be strong, because that's what I learned. That's what I believed was what was going to, kind of arm them for life. Right. Sure. And then, of course, as I grew, especially spiritually, I grew, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want them to not feel comfortable to cry, or I don't want them to not feel comfortable to come to me and talk to me about things. Now, one thing they always are and still are able to talk to me about anything. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, go tell a friend, because I don't want to know that.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
But I'm happy that we created that environment where they do feel safe. But so you guys, I'm gonna let Brianne go first this time. What do you think? Why do you think they struggle to get help sometimes as men?
I think, like the last question, is something that we teach men when they're young, that you better not cry, because that's for girls. Don't feel too many emotions, because that's too feminine. And having that masculinity and that femininity growing up, you have to be one or the other. And so as they grow up, they don't feel comfortable, talking to a therapist. And I think now, we talked about it earlier, I think Bianca was talking about it, how, seeing more men in therapy. And I don't know if it's because of 2020 and what that has all brung us. But it's nice seeing more men talking to someone and actually getting those feelings out and not holding all men, because it could be very damaging growing up believing those things and, the stigma behind it.
No, yeah. Erica?
I agree. I think that she pretty much encapsulated, the collective thought. I think that in terms of seeing men within therapy myself, I always applaud them, because I think that in today's world, to step out and do something different than what culture communicates is strength, is leadership. Yeah, because of the messages that were already referenced that have been given. And so I think that in terms of overall therapy, that in order to approach emotional health, in order to get anywhere in life, most of the time, we all are challenged with doing something different that gets us a different result. And so in order to get that different result, we have to be willing to step out there and challenge sometimes those cultural norms, sometimes the norms of the family culture, the community culture, and the culture at large. So when men come in, I see that they are definitely, I relate, they are relieved that they have a safe place that they can come and share without judgment. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
That's awesome. Bianca?
I agree with both of what they have said. I have had a substantial increase in my male clients in 2020, and a lot of them have come because they're exhausted. Yeah, they are exhausted, and I even have some. I had one client, and we worked together about a year, and he was very adamant. He was like, I'm cool with you, but I want to do this. I want to do that therapy thing. And I'm like, baby, we've been doing this therapy thing for a year. But when I think more men, at least what I've seen, is they get involved, because I don't use the term therapy when I'm talking about services. I say we're going to have a session. We're going to talk. That's really what it is. The idea of therapy means that you're crazy. The idea of mental health means that you're crazy. And because we have this stigma of Black men saying that you have to be this type of Black man, right? who you are. But meanwhile, you are America's #1 target right now. You walk, you can be sitting on your couch eating ice cream, and you don't the next day. That is very heavy. And then the idea of being a man and being able to lead your household feels like you have no options. So when they come into, I don't use the word therapy because I want to break down kind of what that means. I'm like, we're just going to talk. Now, obviously, we put some technique and things behind it, but we're just going to have this conversation where you can be heard, you can be validated, and you can be not judged. And I think those are the 3 components that are really missing in day-to-day society to make men feel like we can go and we can have this service and I can be healthy and I can feel better than what I'm at. And that idea of feeling better is almost nuanced in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And that conversation is therapeutic. And that's the part that's the therapy part of it. But like you said, it's such a stigma on that word, which is so unfortunate because it's so many things that are therapeutic for us to do to help us throughout this journey in life. So I appreciate you all for what you do because people need, I'm a big advocate for safe spaces. People need safe spaces, and people need to invest. This is an investment. What they do with you all, that's an investment in their livelihood, their wellness, their whole life. That's a big time investment. So I appreciate you guys for doing that.
That's real.
Yeah. For people struggling with depression, people always say I'm depressed. I'm depressed. But I've been looking at this 2020 year, right? And just talking to people that I talk with, I do more of like the life coaching side of it, and people I'm talking to, we some people already have depression, right? They've already been, either clinically depressed, dealt with depression their whole life, but then you add on the anxiety behind COVID. People were isolated from us in their homes, sometimes in homes that were not safe. Sometimes homes that were not clean or, well, or whatever environmental part of that, because, we know domestic violence alarms went off even more so this year because people were stuck at home. They're angry, they're upset, they're frustrated. People lost jobs. So you add that onto depression, right? Then you have seasonal depression. Sometimes people get that because I know I'm a person, I do not like when the season changes because I'm a sun baby. I call myself a sun girl. I love the light. I love that. I love it staying light till 9 o'clock. When it starts getting dark at 5 o'clock, honey, I'll be like, okay, I cannot handle that. It's a lot. So I get really tired and things of that nature. And then you add on, the weight of the divide and the climate of the world right now. It's a lot. It's just a lot going on, right? So you add all these things on top of it. What do you guys have some coping ideas for people these days? Because it's a lot. And when you're doing it alone, because some places are not allowing you inside right now. You have to do even your therapy session. Some people are still doing it remote, virtual, and people sometimes need that face-to-face connection. You know what I mean? So what are some coping ideas that you guys have, Bianca? Do you have some coping ideas that you give your clients to deal with everything that's going on right now?
So I do. So we started with the idea of coping very early on in sessions when we're working on sessions. But the first thing that I have them do, instead of giving them a list of, this is deep breathing, this is, mindfulness, all those are well and good. But we talk about what is fun mean. And I ask them what things are fun, and probably 7 times out of 10, they can't give me anything. They'll say, I think I like. I say, well, no, what brings you joy? What is fun? Like, this is dope. I really like this. And they can't give me that. So we start with the first thing is trying something that you think might be enjoyable and to decide whether or not you like it or not. Okay. You mentioned painting. I am not an artist, but I love to play and act like I'm an artist on canvas, right?
Yeah.
Together because it's fun to me. I'm not trying to make a career out of it, but right. I never tried it. Had a friend of mine not been like, let's go down to the house for the masterpiece to see what happens. I'm like, okay, girl.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do, I tell people is to figure out what is fun. And if you cannot give a list of 10 things that you find that are fun, then we need to start trying new things. You've ever thought, maybe I might like a poetry. Figure out, go on Facebook, go on social media, figure out where a poetry event is. Go and see if you like it. And then you can flesh it out. Okay, I don't like delivering poetry, but I like writing it. Okay, Go get your fun journal. Go to Amazon, get your fun journal, make it your poetry journal. So starting out with identifying what is fun and having at least 10 things on hand that you can do or have access to do any given day of the week.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Erica?
Well, I love those ideas, Bianca. I want to say that, and in addition to that, and starting with just looking at their interests in particular and pulling from their hobbies, I think that figuring out those things that are easily accessed, as Bianca already mentioned, but looking at getting out into nature. I know that it's getting a little cooler now. It's getting a little cooler now, so we are trying to figure out different ways of getting that exercise in, but. Finding ways that we can exercise our mind and exercise our body so that we can try to get those positive chemicals flowing in our bodies, because we know that in terms of thinking about the positive, our feel-good wellness chemicals, serotonin and other chemicals in there, they really start moving as we start moving and we remain active physically. So physical opportunities to just engage with nature, even if it's just going for a small walk, a brief walk, or if you have something in your home and you can exercise in that way. We already mentioned a lot of the things that some people already do, such as pulling from their skill set and their interests. So I won't review any of those, but I think that journaling.
I'm a big,
things that are big on helping a person to understand where they are in the moment, but also gives them,
yes.
It gives them that ability to one day be able to look back and review how far they've come as well. I think that's always important. I think that anytime a person has an opportunity to do anything sensory, so like if they can incorporate candles, things that smell good, that helps to give that calming aspect. So a lot of people like lavender, aromatherapies, and things like that. So practical things, bubble bath, jazz music, whatever, as Bianca mentioned, as you guys already mentioned, some of the things that people naturally do, but they may not think about as something that's right on hand that they can use.
Yeah. And I'm going to, and Brianna, I want you to go next, but I'm just going to say it because that's who I am. And sex, right? You can have sex, right?
That's
you can, hey, I'm just saying, that is the way. I'm just saying, to naturally, and that's a natural thing. It's free, for most people. And I mean, there's a science behind that too. It's a science behind it. So I mean, if you are in that position, for lack of a better word, do it.
With you.
Okay. Let me say, because I will go there, because I think that's something that people need to be comfortable about talking about, because it is something that is a stress reliever. Physically will help, mentally, spiritually, all of that. So Brianne, you're next. What do you think in some ways?
I'm actually happy this question came up, because I was actually thinking of, now that, we might have another surge of COVID and the winter coming, like what can we do to still kind of incorporate coping skills now that we may not be able to go outside as much, and you guys have a lot of good ideas. And one thing that I know, like a group of my friends in grad school did, was this Zoom parties or sessions or whatever, where we just kind of come and connect in the middle of the week and just catch up and ask each other, like, what are you guys doing for self-care? How's everything going with work? And just being able to have that connection. It might not be face to face, but at least you're able to talk to people. Some people are also with being active and joining like yoga groups via Zoom. So you're able to be at home, but also incorporate physical health too.
Yeah, no, Brian, that's really a good idea. That's really a good thought. I know when COVID first kind of started and everybody was in, my mother was always at home by herself. I mean, she lives by herself, and she was really, really worried about everything. So we didn't go over there. So we started doing Zoom, and then I started thinking about she had 6 sisters, and they all live different places. And I know, when you get to certain ages, especially with COVID, people were very concerned about each other. So I set it up where they all could kind of meet once a week. I think they're on their call right now, and they do it every Thursday, and they laugh, they talk, they eat, they, show up in rollers, house coat, whatever, but it's just a way to connect with each other and to feel safe. You feel like everybody is good. You checking in like, okay, I'm looking at everybody's good. We're laughing, you go on about your way. So Brienne, that's really a really good point to make that, even though we cannot always connect physically, that's the next best thing. And I wanted to just comment, show this comment again. That Rick, he actually was a past guest on the show as well, but he is an attorney, and he, like you say, he practices criminal defense and family law, and he's seen a big spike in domestic violence cases and divorce. Because some people realize I don't really like you. We can't get it. It was difficult. No, I'm not making fun of people getting divorced, but I'm just saying, but it's real.
That's a real thing, though.
Very real.
Yes.
That's a very real thing. I've had more clients, a lot of my male clients, a lot of my female clients as well, have realized, they were like, oh my gosh, this gets on my nerves, this gets on my nerves, this gets on my nerves. But y'all been together 10, 15, 20 years. And what happens is we replace, we call being busy being productive. So we keep ourselves in order to continue to engage. And when the world said, you're going to sit down, they realize, I didn't like this.
Yes.
There's been a huge spike. I have 2 divorces going on right now with my clients, 4 of them. And I'm like, wait.
Oh, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, you see that sometimes even when children graduate from high school, right? I know in my community, I see it a lot where children graduate from high school, and then the parents are now forced to actually be alone together without going to soccer practices and going to play rehearsals, and they realize they do not like each other. They realize, So COVID has brought out some beasts. Like, wait a minute, this is not. But as much as I joke about it, and I know people hate COVID and they hate 2020, but I have seen this as such a unveiling, such a reveal. Yes, because people have been forced to sit still and learn themselves and learn the things around them. And, sometimes some of these divorces may be what's best. Who knows? Sometimes, people are self-discovering and realizing, I really want to be like this. I want to do this. I want my life to be like this because, when you are looking at a lot of death or you're looking at a lot of negativity, you start to really relook at life, right? You got to start focusing and say, you know what? I really want to be able to do this. And you are not helping me get there. You're not helping me be my true self. So, hey, things happen, but I have seen in this 2020 that people are starting to see who and what they truly are. So however that manifests, it just, it manifests.
That's great. You both raise important points, about the stillness. The stillness allowing people to really, as both of you reflected, being able to look within themselves and being able to really take stock and do an analysis of where they are and what they would like and what's happening around them. And I was just speaking with someone the other day, and it does really feel like when you reference the unveiling, it really does appear, 2020 does really appear to be in many ways a year where things are just, nothing is really being hidden. It's just like everything's out in the open, like things that we always do.
Yes.
It's like right out there because everyone's still enough to acknowledge it and see it for what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing to distract from the facts.
No, No,
Yeah.
I've been saying that this whole year, and people either like it or they don't sometimes, and that's okay. But it's the truth. I mean, we have really seen a lot of other people, of our environments, of ourselves, and sometimes again, I know people have seen it as like a curse, but I truly believe this has been a blessing in different ways in regards to self-discovery and really true reflection. Because when you are forced to sit still, when you talk to people who been to prison or been stuck in bed for months, they come out like different people sometimes, good or bad. When they start to really truly center self and see self, a lot of things come out. So again, I think this year has done that. So let's see. I work with sexual assault clients, and COVID has really impacted how much reflection is done on their trauma with the extra free time. It really is true. I mean, so that's why I encourage people this year, while we are still, take advantage of that, really dig deep and really learn self and be aware of who you are, because we play so many roles, right? We put on so many masks and put on so many, so sometimes we don't even know who the hell we are. We just kind of floating around. So this is a time, like you talked about, journaling, talk to yourself. I'm a firm believer. I tell people to write letters. You can write letters to yourself. You can write letters to, your mama that abused you. You can write letters to the child that you're estranged with. You may never give it to them, and that's okay.
That's right.
So write the letter as if you are talking to them, or even talking to yourself, and say things that you normally wouldn't say, to their face, or even to yourself. Write that letter. And sometimes I tell people, you can throw it away, you can burn, you can do whatever, get rid of it, throw it in the water. I don't care where you do with it. You don't have to keep it, but get it out. Get it out.
Right.
And self-reflecting.
That's the biggest, one of the biggest things I feel like that we're seeing is that getting it out and having a safe space to be able to release that. We have people who are showing more and more trauma, right? Like, it's not new. We've just had to slow down and deal with what is actually happening and what is going on, and all of those triggers that we overlook to stay busy. We're going to work, we're going to soccer practice, we're going to the gym, we're going to all these other places. It's now coming out. But what 2020 has offered as well, it's allowing people to live in their truth.
Yes, ma'am.
We have nothing to distract us, nothing to essentially get in the way. So really, it's kind of a do or die moment. Are we going to sit and realize and say, I want to continue to be in this place, or I want to move on? That's the beauty of this year, of what therapy is, because it is that safe space to be like, listen, I don't know. I have come in. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I want to go. I just know I don't want to be here.
Yes.
Let's figure it out together. It's good. Great. It's wonderful. Yes.
Woo! I tell you, did I get everybody a chance to comment? Because this really, I can organically talk about this all night, because it's just, self-discovery to me is the greatest way to heal. Right? It is the greatest way to heal. The more and more you learn yourself, you realize what you're not going to tolerate, what, who you don't want around you. Because it's like, wait a minute, I'm at peace right now, and you just keep doing something to me. And I don't want that, and it starts to look mean. Sometimes people take it as being mean, but it really is like, no. So that goes to my next question. Let's go on and segue into that.
All right.
What do healthy boundaries look like? It's okay to say no and love. And I think I was sharing with Brienne earlier that I got to a point where it was okay. I was able to say no, but the in love part was not quite there. So I had to get to that part too, where I was saying no in love because I was waiting too long, where it was like, because I was that person that wanted everybody happy. I wanted to just, be superwoman and, everybody was dependent on me. So I got to do this. And then by the time I said no, it came out very aggressive. Right. Mm-hmm. So now I learned that, wait a minute, I know now. Okay, before I get to that point, let me say no in love and be okay with that, and not care if they judge you for it or be upset, because they'll be okay. We have to understand they will be okay. So I'm gonna let y'all talk. Brienne, what do healthy boundaries look like?
So at my job, I work in a psychiatric hospital full time, and we run groups all the time. I find boundaries to be probably the best group to have because we all have issues with boundaries, no matter how you look at it. And I think when we get to the topic of having boundaries within relationships, people kind of like, oh, you can have that. Being able to say no, like you said, it doesn't have to be a harsh no, but say no, not right now, maybe later. And even being able to say, I can't be there for you right now because I'm dealing with my own things. But when, I'm able to, I can be there for you. Because I feel like a lot of people put a lot of their energy into other people and then they forget about themselves. Then that's when the problems start to occur and, maybe depression, anxiety, and they don't have anyone to talk to because those boundaries aren't there. I guess.
No, it makes perfect sense. I want to show this. I want to show this real quick. And if anybody wants to take this question, they can. The question is, as a mixed racial woman, I feel like I'm tired and tried with everything George Floyd and this election, with my rights being determined by white men. She's tired. Is that normal?
Yes. 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 Brianna Reed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Exhausted, because exhaustion is not just the physicalness of being tired. It is the emotional toll, and especially as women that we carry, because a lot of times there are situations in which women, we will put everything before us, right? Very in our personal life, as well as the society, saying that as a Black woman or as a multiracial woman, your life is not valuable. Your life is not important. Your life is not as valued as this life over here. So we are now not only combating and trying to appease those that are in our close circles, but now we are trying to combat this narrative of saying, no, I am of value. I deserve equal pay. I deserve to be protected. I deserve to be safe. I deserve to be able to be at home with my man in my bed and not be shot.
That's right.
We don't have safe space, and it is exhausting. It is absolutely normal to be exhausted. What we have to do is to create safe environments, safe intentional environments for those of color that say, okay, listen, I just want to sit here for 5 seconds and not have to code switch and not have to worry about how am I the angry Black woman? How am I being assessed? I just want to sit back and be Bianca and not have any type of narrative put on top of me in order to be able to bring. So listen, sorry y'all, but girl,
No, it's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, I know for myself, people always, see me one way or the other. And, I have come to a point where I'm me, and I know sometimes I'm a bit much for people. I say things just like earlier when I talked about sex. Some people might be uncomfortable with that, but you know what? It's life. And I just, my thing is that I'm not the whole world. I'm just my little space in the world. And if you choose to be in it, then this is what I give. You know what I'm saying? And, that's totally that's a choice of yours, not mine, and I got to a point where I stopped apologizing for being who I am to make people comfortable and see me as who they thought I should be. Because, it's like, hey, this is me. I've always been this way. And again, I learned and grew and learned how to be a better version of myself. Of course, I mean, we always are evolving. We're always learning, but I'm still going to be my true self. So that's very true. So, and then too, I think another part of that too, you guys can chime in, is that it's okay to feel your emotion of what you feel, right? So nobody can say that what you feel is wrong, because if that's what you feel and that's your story, that's your truth, then it's real. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay. So did anybody else want to chime in on that?
Well, I tend to express the thought, and I do believe the thought that I think that healthy boundaries are honest. I think that if you are expressing a boundary to someone, or if you are saying no in love, if you're telling someone, hey, this is my capacity, this is my ability, this is my cutoff point, this is what I'm able to do, I think that's direct communication. You all reference, just being able to say things clearly, and that, saying things in love is saying things clearly. I think that what you all reference, everyone referenced in some way that, some people, sometimes it's perceived as mean when you set a boundary. But setting a boundary is actually the greatest form of honesty and love, because you're saying to the people that you care about, and those that don't know you, like you referenced, Erin, hey, this is me. This is where I am, and you're being authentic. So you're not hiding anything. So everyone has a clear perception, and there's clear communication on where all things are. And I think that, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but in my experiences and what I talk to clients about, similarly to you guys, is that in my experience, the people that have problems with healthy boundaries are the people who really have problems altogether.
Talk about that thing.
With communication, with having healthy relationships.
Yes.
I'm just saying that the persons that have the problems with it,
yes,
are the persons who really have the challenges that they don't want to dedeal with.
Or they're the takers. They're always takers.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Most people who are the takers, they have a problem with you saying no. The people that are manipulators, they have a problem with it. But people that are whole, and they respect what you have to say, and they honor what you say, they'll be okay with it, because they like, honey, okay, good, you gonna do you, and I'm gonna do me, and that's one thing that we have to be, and again, thank you so much, Erica, for bringing that up, because a lot of times we do use words as mean or aggressive or too blunt, or we have all these negative words, and really it's just honest. Look, I don't have time today. I can't do that today. And a lot of times people don't ask you, a lot of us have a friend that'll just call you and just dump it all on you. They don't ask you, can you handle this today? Do you want to talk about this today? Do you have a moment for me today? And that's one thing I started to learn and say, are you okay today to hear what I have to say? Because girl, I'm about to bring some stuff to you. And if they say, you know what, I'm at my, I'm up here right now, I can't. Okay, let's talk about it another time. But we don't give each other that grace,
Yes.
So yeah, I agree with you, Erica, that sometimes we do use those words because that's how people perceive it, but really it's just honest, man. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for that feedback.
Yes. No, I appreciate everything that you guys saying. Brianne, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I was just going to add, that's something that I always kind of add in my groups, just to ask permission before you kind of let all your stuff out, because that could be a lot on a person depending on what it is. So asking, hey, are you okay today to handle what I have for you? If not, you can save it for later, write it down, whatever you need to do, and then have that discussion later.
Yeah, I mean, even, it really is. You guys all make really good points. I mean, even when you think about, as the young lady talks about earlier, different stuff that's been going on this year, people be sending me stuff in my text messages of videos of violence. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, right now. I mean, you just don't know where a person is in their head, and then they open something up and they see these just really volatile pictures and videos. Ask, I have something to share with you, I want your input on this, can I share it? It's going to be graphic. Do you want to see that? Because that goes back to what you were talking about, Bianca, trauma, PTSD. That's just some stuff, because it just really, really messes with your psyche. So I agree with everything that you guys are saying with that.
Real quick to Brianna's comment about asking permission. I think that is a very profound statement. Mm-hmm. And I think that that needs to be heard, especially for clinicians who have friends that are not in the field. Because I think there's this assumption that this is what you do. And so let me send that video to you. Let me show you this message. Let me tag you in this post. And I know that for me, I am exhausted holding people in a safe space, holding people's trauma, holding people's secrets, exhausted. And when I get home, I don't want to see who was just shot, by the police. I want to watch some show that's nothing to do with anything. I want to read a trash novel. I want to look through a magazine. So asking permission and then making sure we hold people accountable for making sure that they ask permission. And if they don't, saying, no, this is not okay. This is my own boundary as a clinician. That was listen, that was a word. Thank you.
No, that's really true, Bianca. Yeah, you know that wow, that's really, you know, a big thing. And you know, sometimes people don't think about that. You know, it's just like, you know, as a hairdresser, when you do hair all day, I don't want to come home and do you know, your son's hair in the kitchen. I'm tired. You know, so it's that same thing, you know, and I, of course, I don't do what you guys do, you know, but I am that friend that is the soundboard. I am the person that, you know, people will talk to, and, you know, and I am an empath. So I feel things so deeply, and that is very exhausting, you know, and then when you add on stuff, you know, in the news or in the world or in your environment. So sometimes when I'm home, I will veg out and watch the dumbest, silliest shows just to kind of decompress. That's my way of decompressing. I don't want to, you know, have too much on my mind sometimes. And then sometimes I will watch something different. But that's a really good point, Bianca. And I think people need to, be mindful of that. So I do want to talk about this. I know time is going, but we just have had such a good conversation. So I appreciate y'all. You know, what are some ways that depression may be hidden that close family and friends may miss? I do want to talk about this because I think that's very important, because again, when I lost the student, now let me just give you guys a quick story about him real quick. He dealt with depression for a while, so we all knew that he was depressed. But the day before he took his life, I had them write letters to themselves. So I got flowers from a neighboring nursery that they always have too many, so they would donate them to me to have the kids plant them there. And we were going to plant the flowers and put their letters to themselves, what they wanted to do, who they wanted to be, what they see, and then plant it, right? So the idea was, you know, it's just like, you know, putting your ideas into this ground, just like this flower, they're going to flourish. So were your dreams or whatever ideas you want. That was the mindset. So him, I'm talking to, and he couldn't think of anything, you know, because he came from a background where nobody spoke life into him. Nobody. Everybody counted him out. So when nobody ever gives that to you, nobody ever sows that into you, how do you reap? What do you reap from that? You know, so with that said, he didn't have anything. We had a long talk. You know, I felt like we had a connection in that talk. All was well, right? And next day was when we got the news that he had taken, you know, he ran his car into a tree and killed himself. So with that said, you know, that's always stuck with me because he was a child. I mean, he was a teenager. I mean, the society saw him as an adult because he was 17 or 16, I believe. I can't remember at this time. But the point is that people looked at him as this big person, right? And to me, he was still a baby. He was still trying to find himself. He wanted to find love. He wanted somebody to tell him he was going to be okay. And he was okay. So my point of saying that is that sometimes even when we think people are on the right track, they may not be 100%, but they're on the right track. We're thinking we're making some headway, or they're okay. Some people will smile every day, and you never know. What are some signs that people may miss in regards to depression or just struggling through life that they may be able to pick on, and how can they help? Anybody can take that. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, like, the lack of interest in things that they used to love to do, especially if you start seeing like a major change in like their everyday activities. I mean, that could be a sign. It could be people that keep a smile on their face and, you know, talk and ask how you're doing all the time. Those can be the people that are the most depressed. I mean, it could be anybody. It could be one of us.
Yeah. Erica, did you?
I think.
Thank you, Brian. Oh, no, go ahead, Erica.
Okay. I just think in terms of overall, I think that sometimes, as you mentioned, you referenced the mask. Sometimes you may not see it because sometimes people have become really adept at hiding it. But I think that those that are closest to them may have the best opportunity to gauge what is a person's norms versus where they are when they are in trouble and struggling. And so a lot of what has already been alluded to is the lack of motivation or loss of interest in things that people typically do. I think that sometimes what is happening when people decide to isolate, if a person who may have been previously engaging, with friends or engaging even within their own home with families, like they may go for a prolonged period of isolating. And I think that isolation is not the only factor, but change of thought, change of feeling. I mean, really clear changes in ways of perceiving the world. Depression has an aspect where people tend to feel hopeless and helpless. And there's a critic involved in the self-talk that comes along with depression, to where maybe there is a person that has experienced a particular situation that has attacked their self-esteem. We reference trauma. There have been numerous types of trauma that we know that have occurred, that we've been exposed to, that people have been exposed to, and it can run, across a wide variety of experiences, from the sexual abuse, even from seeing a person dying on TV, seeing those images over and over, and not unplugging or not seeking help for strong emotions that may emerge that could be indicative of trauma, such as depression, such as anxiety. I think that sometimes not being able to focus, if a person was previously focused and able to work, like say, for example, a person was previously productive at work or school, whether it's a teenager who's working or an adult who's working, and they have trouble focusing, it could be indicative of the fact that they are not able to see things clearly because of the turmoil that's happening internally from the depression. It does affect attention. It does affect memory, and looking at things across the gamut in terms of, is a person being affected substantially in the areas of their life, relationships, work, school, performance. So even attention to daily hygiene, attention to things that they do during the course of the day. There's a lot of things that can be indicative of depression. Loss of sleep, increase in appetite, lower appetite, so many different things. Suicidal, definitely expression of suicidal thoughts, or focus on, the fact that they don't know why they're here. They don't have to be suicidal with a plan, but just express those thoughts.
Okay.
I'll stop there because I know that I want to make sure I'm respectful of time.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, I don't have to go to work tomorrow, but I know y'all do. So I appreciate it. Did you have anything to add to that, Bianca?
I think these guys hit it really on the head. I think the one thing that I noticed that can be indicative, if we're not showing kind of any overt signs of depression or kind of withdrawal, is look at the condition of their home. And what I mean by that is, our home is a direct representation of what is going on with us. Yes. So for me, my living room is how I am on the outside. But if you really want to know what's going on with me, look at my bedroom. If my bedroom is in disarray, my life is in disarray.
Yes.
Those things. Now, I am not the most organized person. So understand the baseline. Have a baseline, okay?
That's right.
But
that's a good point.
If I can't get it together, my room together, usually that means there's something else going on. And so close friends and close family, if we notice that, okay, hey, that laundry has been there for about 2 weeks now, because I'm the queen of washing and then folding it 2 days later.
I was about to say, I must be depressed too, because right now.
Right. But if we know the baseline, if we notice that these things seem to be out of the ordinary for that
Out of character, yeah.
That's when we can start ask more questions, more probing questions, and start to get more into what's going on and asking them how they're doing, and not settling for "I'm fine," because fine doesn't mean anything, or
That's
okay.
right.
Right. No, that's very, very true. I do want to get you guys contact information out here because I want people to know that, again, it's okay to say you're not okay. If you need help, if you want to talk to somebody, please do it. I mean, I cannot emphasize that enough. That is so important to ask for help. And, if you don't have the money to do it, talk to somebody. When I do classes with children and I talk to them, especially about communicating, if something's not right in the home, I tell them, if that little lady that watches you cross the street, helps you cross the street every day, the little crossing guard, and she always speaks to you and so kind to you, tell her you need some help. Tell somebody. Let somebody know that you trust, that you need help, because it's just so important. I've had a lot of people that I know that have gone down some dark paths because the pride or the fear or whatever it is, to ask for help has stopped them from doing it. So they go down different paths. So I just want people to know. So I want to put your information up. This one here is for Bianca. If you guys want to reach out, and Bianca, you're in Indiana, right?
Yes, I'm located in Indianapolis.
Okay. And let's see. And then we have Erica's information here. This is all her information. And Erica, where are you located?
At 3444 Davenport Avenue. I'm here in
Saginaw. There it goes. Mm-hmm. Sorry. And so I had to put my screen back up. But yeah, so you're in Saginaw, and then Brianne, let's put yours up here. And the McDowell. Now Melvin McDowell, I tried to get him on the show because I wanted a male therapist on here, but he's so busy, as y'all know, as therapists, he got so busy. He was so busy. So, because he's running different locations, I believe. So it's a lot, and I think he's in school doing stuff too. So he's just doing a lot. So I really want him on because I did want that male perspective, but we're going to have him on. We are going to set that up to still have him on. And he also put here to text the word MHAC to 55444, and you'll get a call back from somebody if you need help. So that's really good to have. And people need help. But again, these ladies are here to help. Melvin is here to help. And also, it's so many people in your area. You can always call your information line. Everybody's city has different numbers to call. If you don't know where to go, you don't know how to seek help, but Google is your best friend. Put in, therapy, help, put in help. I don't care, whatever keyword you need to put in there to get that help, and just don't be afraid. So again, ladies, I appreciate you guys so much for for being here and sharing your knowledge, and just your perspective of things, and just to allow people to have a safe space. That's so important. We need people like you in the world because people need help. We all need help. We all need help. We all need, even if it's like they said, that chair or that person to just lean on, to talk through it, something. We all need that. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to say before we close?
No, just thanks for the opportunity to share. It's a reflection of our heart. And so however we can help, just let us know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you guys have a great evening. Take care.
Hey, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesome. That was another great time tonight. Wow, I'm just overjoyed and overwhelmed with just love and appreciation for the ladies for coming on tonight. This is something that's very personal to me. This is a personal and just a subject that I take very dear to my heart, because people need help out here. People are hurting. People are crying out here. People are, people are saying it. They're saying they need help in different ways. We just need to listen and don't be afraid to intervene sometimes and reach out to people to help them understand that there are safe spaces to go to. So again, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I know this is a sensitive subject for some people, but it's a necessary one that we have to have. So I appreciate you guys for being here and sharing your input as well in the comments. So you guys have a great evening. Peace.